Revelation Online has finally hit North America with its first closed beta test. Now, the hype meter for this game is off the freaking roof. And from the list of features the game touts, it's easy to see why people are excited. And with every MMO that's hyped like this, it's gonna save the genre, right? Oh, you crazy kids. No. Wait, does that mean the game is bad? No, in fact, in my opinion, the game's pretty good. But the game's first impressions are a bit wonky. So let's start from the beginning to see what I'm talking about. And then we can talk about why I like Revelation. The first thing you'll do is pick a class. There's the Vanguard, which is a tank class, the Gunslinger, a ranged DPS, the Occultist, a magic DPS/off healer, the Sword Mage, which is just a magic DPS, the Blade Master, a melee DPS/off tank, and the Spirit Shaper, which is a healer/ranged DPS. And none of these are gender locked. I don't have to be whatever people are calling these nowadays. I am so happy. Naturally, I went with Spirit Shaper because healing, duh. And then you get to customize your character. Races are basically human or human. However, actual customization is super deep. You can really change your character's body to fit whatever you want. Nightmare fuel! And you'll want to spend some time on it because you won't just be seeing your character from behind. So once you're done making your little abomination, then it's time for some story, which is still in another language, so who knows what it says. Now this is beta, so I'm not going to criticize the lack of translation here or in other parts of the game. If you're unhappy about the fact that the beta wasn't fully translated for you, please file your complaint in the I don't give a shit box. But I spent money and purchased a Founder's Pack. It should be fully translated in a complete game and blah blah blah. File it in the box. You, of your own free will, paid for items for the finished game and for guaranteed beta access. And guess what? You got into beta, and betas are incomplete. If the game launches and it's still like this, then I will give a shit. Until then, box. Moving on. Revelation is actually very story heavy for the first few hours of the game, which is both a good thing and a not so good thing. It's good because story is fun, right? Revelation in particular does not take itself very seriously. As a comedian/gamer and not the other way around, I like this because it gave me a good giggle. I'm tired of games taking themselves so damn seriously. Your game, lighten up. On the other hand, you could take yourselves a bit more seriously. I mean, seriously. I did not add that sound effect. That's in the game. Most of the complaints I see about Revelation up to this point are regarding this silly tone. And yeah, I can see how it may be off-putting, but honestly, it doesn't last that long, and to me it came off more like parody than anything. We'll see how it turns out when it's fully translated. My biggest issue with Revelation to this point is that the first 20 levels are essentially the game's tutorial. You will pretty much follow one quest line from location to location, watching cutscenes and learning some new skills along the way. Luckily, if you know what you're doing, you can blow by this in about 30 minutes. But again, I can see how this might be off-putting for some people. Enough with that stuff though, what about gameplay? Combat in Revelation is tab targeting with some ground-targeted AoEs and the ability to dodge some attacks. It's basically a tab-targeted action hybrid. You can select two other styles of combat that are more action-oriented, but at its core, it's still tab targeting. Is that good? Is that bad? I've seen both good and bad action combat and tab targeting combat. I honestly do not care which style it is as long as I'm having fun, which in Revelation, I was, because dolphins. You may think that's silly, but Flipper will f you up. Now, one thing I will definitely put into the plus column is movement. When you're not auto-pathing around, which is a thing in Revelation, love it or hate it, the game has enjoyable movement. Hold down shift, and your character suddenly becomes Jesus Flash. And of course, double jump. With air dashing and gliding and even more flips. Oh god, there's too much awesome! Some people may not like this. Box. I want to jump around in the air, or just fly with my wings. Woo! Yes, you have wings in Revelation starting at level 29, and you can fly around this giant seamless world at your leisure. There's also mounts like horses, but who cares, I got wings, bitch! And that's pretty much the early game of Revelation. Again, it's one long tutorial until you get around level 20. If you can get past the weirdness of the cutscenes and the slightly linear nature, it is worth it, because at this point, the game starts to open up. With side quests, it introduces equipment refinement, dungeons, and even starts up dailies. Gotta get you addicted early. Good old drug dealer approach. At this point, Revelation becomes more like an MMO and less like whatever it was before. Even the storyline quests tone down the weirdness and take a more serious tone. Leveling also slows down considerably once you hit a certain point, and the way you level will also shift. The main ways I've found are dungeons, raids, Pde Arenas, and the hot springs, so let's break those down. Dungeons are not what you're used to. In Revelation, dungeons are actually public areas where tons of people can enter and kill enemies. Think old school EverQuest or Dark Age of Camelot. Raids are actually more like your typical 5-man dungeons. I find these incredibly enjoyable. Then again, I've always been a dungeon type of guy. They tend to be quick yet fun. On easier difficulties, my wife Wibbles and I would actually 2-man/woman them. On harder difficulties, they proved to be a decent challenge. But if you had a group that knew what they were doing, you could clear it pretty damn quick. One of the raids actually did away with the running through a small map from boss to boss thing, and instead just spawned wave after wave of enemies and bosses to an area that you had to defend. I liked this because it allowed me to be lazy, and I like being lazy. That's a big spider. We're gonna need a bigger can of raid. One of the other ways to level is the Pde Arena. Just round after round of PvE battles. Small enemies, large enemies, waves of enemies, me, wait what? And then there's the hot springs, where you can just sit back, have a steam, go AFK, and gain some XP by eating and drinking. Just like in real life. It's also a good place to mac on your lady. Or the other way around. Yeah, you get it, girl. Some other odds and ends here. Throughout the game, whenever you level up, you can put points into a number of attributes to increase your stats. Each class will want to put their points into different places, so pay attention to your important attributes. At level 40, things actually open up even more, allowing you to start putting points into your skills, which increases their efficiency. Gear is very important in Revelation. Armor drops from quests, dungeons, and raids. However, you will eventually need to upgrade your equipment using materials you get out of dungeons, raids, and from reward items. There's also ways to craft items, which I've done a few times, but I don't really understand how it works yet. I would go into other details such as login rewards and things like that, but with the translation not being complete, it's hard to know exactly what everything is. So we'll just stop here. I'm currently level 40 in Revelation and enjoying myself quite a bit. Now, I guarantee you I've missed something at this point in this video, but honestly, this is just a beta. I shouldn't have even dragged on this long, but I feel I needed to set the record straight and get people's expectations back in line. Revelation was extremely hyped and is now getting a lot of undue hate simply because it was too hyped. Personally, I like it for what it is. A good solid MMO with a silly sense of humor and a lot of stuff to do. And it has wings. Let's face it, I just like the wings. And those were my thoughts on the first closed beta of Revelation Online. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for future videos. I put out a new one every week. I've also put another video for you to watch right up here. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter or Facebook and come chat with us on Discord. Also, make sure to buy the new Hive shirt. And if you really want to support the channel, you can donate to me on Patreon like these other amazing people. I'm gonna look into genetic splicing to get them all some wings. We can go flying together. Let's just hope it's not bird season.